All right, I hereby call this meeting to order, and please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Director Lopez, can you perform the roll call?
Commissioner Montoya,
Here.
Commissioner Stinson, Commissioner Metcalf, Commissioner Myers,
Here.
Commissioner Metcalf. I already said that. Cheers. No worries. Commissioner Bacon,
Here.
Commissioner Bernstein.
Here.
Chair, we have one.
Thank you. We have a new member. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Keith Bernstein. I'm a local resident, born and raised here, alumni of 2013. I just wanted to bring my abilities here to serve our commission and be able to bring more businesses here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to have you. All right. I'm sure that you've read the minutes, the ones that were here from last time. Is there any additions or subtractions that need to be done in those? Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from June 5th, 2024.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, new business. Cool PZ 24-03-15, a major site application submitted by iPlan Consulting on behalf of Coolidge 60 LLC, Coolidge, Arizona Apartment LLC for 328 unit of multifamily apartments on 20 acres plus or minus 18.2 net acres within the 60 acre plus or minus Mesquite Manor pad as located approximately 1/2 of a mile south of the southeast intersection corner of Coolidge Avenue and Skousen Road, Coolidge, Arizona, APN number 209-25-0040. I'd like to turn some time over to Director Lopez.
Mr. Vice Chair, thank
Bill.
you. I want to start by, we have a new member, and just want to quickly explain, just real quick, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviews these site plans to make sure it fits the community, and also, but it's already been approved as a PAD, so we're looking at the site plan and the compatibility, and also what we do is we have a staff report that you see. So Phil does a staff report, and then he has all the criteria that you need to look at. We provide a site plan, and then what happens is at this point they don't have all the civil details yet, so it's kind of conceptual. And then so you're going to get some data and that you can see, and then once, if you decide to approve this, then they'll submit all the civil engineering drawings. They'll start providing construction drawings. So then we have Stantec, which is a third-party reviewer that's really big. They get all the civils, get the building plans, and they're like a huge company that looks at all things, very professional. We have usually 3 inspectors a day here from them, looking at all the solar, and Nikola, Procter & Gamble will be coming soon, hopefully, and then we're looking at that. And then besides all the houses and the carports and the fences, all those things. So it, moves to that portion of it once this is done. The fire department looks at it. We also, like Arizona Water, for hydrants, because Chief Dillon will say, well, it depends on Arizona water and how much water I can get, where the lines are. And because sometimes the lines are smaller, so the developer has to increase in the area, so it just depends. They work through that. So that happens after this, and then it gets to the permitting stage. You'll see dirt start moved around. So just kind of quickly, I just want to cover the process of how it goes, so you understand. Then I'm going to call you, and then that way you can come in, and any of you, actually, if you want more information, you're always welcome to call us and then come into our office, and we'll explain different processes, or if you have questions on anything you're looking at, please, you're more than welcome to call us. I work with the vice chair a lot, because he really looks at things closely, which is good. Helps us out if we see something that's missing or something that we need to correct. That's really good. So anyway, that being said, we have a project tonight that's pretty excited on it, and we have this came through as a PAD amendment before that allowed single-family home, an area that was single-family homes to be changed to allow apartments. And because we have a shortage of housing all over the place. And so it came through P&Z, and then also came through the council. They approved also the PAD amendment. So now the site plan process itself comes strictly to the commission. It doesn't go to the council. So, it goes here. So we have this applicant here. They're here today to answer any questions you may have. They'll make a presentation. Phil will go into it and start, and then we'll allow them, Mr. Vice Chair, with your permission, they can get up and give you some information too. And of course, anytime the commission can ask questions if you have any questions.
Steal this.
I don't know if,
You're okay.
I don't
Here you
feel-
go. She had a leaky bottle.
oh, okay. All right, Phil, Mr. Chair, if you'd like.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead, Phil.
Well, our usual exhibits. Here's our site exhibit. All the areas within blue are those areas annexed into the city of Coolidge. Here's the subject location. Any areas undesignated are within the county. Our general plan exhibit shows the subject site again as located within the urban neighborhood land use. As can be seen, the majority of a lot of the larger surrounding area is also urban neighborhood. There is some agricultural land use designations with the cotton gin here, a little bit down here. And of course, to our industrial area here and sort of our large area here, there's the designation in purple here for the industrial manufacturing. On our zoning exhibit, the subject location here in sort of a tan, as can be seen right here, is a planned area development. Much of the surrounding area is either proposed or developing PADs or similar subdivisions themselves, intermixed with, once again, some green here. In this case, this is the actual zoning, the agriculture, and anything that is unhighlighted here is in the county and is general rule for the zoning for Pinal County. So pictures from same thing of last time from the PAD that was approved by the P&Z in May. This is the site standing basically at North Skousen and Gibson Road right here at this point. This is the uppermost northwest corner. So basically the property here extends along Gibson this way, continues down this side with North Skousen Road here. This next picture in the upper right is basically coming down about halfway through the project. This isn't the exact location of where the main entrance would be, but it's very similar, very close from North Skousen Road, once again looking due east. And then as we look at the bottom photograph here, sliding once again further down Skousen Road, pretty much down to the bottom of the project here, looking to the northeast here, where the majority of the project is right here in this area. So this exhibit, which you had received with your packet that we used last time with the major PAD amendment, shows the original PAD itself in all the single-family homes the way that they were proposed. This is the area of the major site plan, multifamily area in discussion for this evening. This is basically a lotting study here. This is a similar exhibit here, basically showing the same layout of circulation, open space areas. This just is showing the two different phases that the original project was laid out in, and once again, a drawn-out boundary relative to the previously approved PAD major amendment in May and for tonight's major site plan consideration. Once again, the overall project These remaining areas, as from the PAD, will remain single-family homes until they are developed. The proposed project, once again, lies within the boundaries of this location here. This is in relationship to the larger property. Moving over here is just kind of enlarging it a little bit here. As before, you can see the orientation of the buildings. This is the main entrance in this location here. The two-story buildings are oriented north to south, fronting onto the road. A gradual design transition occurs as you move internal to the project, where the remainder are 3 stories. As you can see, it's a very adequately designed circulation and parking plan, parking spaces within adequate distances to each of the individual buildings, very adequate spacing between a lot of the buildings, at a minimum 30 feet, but in some cases 50 up to 100 feet or more, depending on the location. In the centralized portion of the project here, a very highly amenitized area, which are called out in portions of the staff report. And then down along here, we have the El Paso gas line easement that, as was mentioned back in May, the original setback from the internal property line was the minimum required 20 feet, but after continued discussion with the applicant, they have actually updated this, and I think it's reflected, oops, sorry. I was worried about your eyes for a second. In the packet today, that it should be 50 feet now is part of the stipulation of what they agreed to. So they worked with us in providing a 2-story tall product here to make a nice lower impactful transition to the right-of-way. Lots of distributed open space areas where a lot of the landscaping and different paths will go. And actually at this time, as was mentioned to members as they were coming in, the applicant has a presentation that they would like to add on to the end of this to talk about the proposed non-perimeter wall, as was mentioned. So cue that up, and if the Mr. Chair would be okay in letting the applicant go further, then I'll set it up here, so.
All right, yeah, I would like to hear from the applicant at the podium, please.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, in the zoning code, there is a section that talks about if that the applicants can ask for an exemption of the wall, but that's up to the Plan and Zoning Commission. And then you can say, okay, we'll give you that exemption, but
hit it
then we
down,
want
there you
maybe
go.
a wrought iron fence or something to protect the kids. We're worried about the kids, and there's desert in the area, so, you may get some wild animals that run up in there. This is a family facility, so they might have little dogs and other things where, you probably have some coyotes out there and other things that we have to worry about. And so if you decide to not to allow them the exemption on the wall, then maybe another site fencing that they could suggest would be, something to consider. But it's up to you if you want to exempt the, okay? Just want to add that to you.
Oh, go ahead and hit the button until it turns green. Should be on top.
Flashing red and green.
Oh, you just got to hit it once. Oh, that's weird. What the? Now try it. There you go.
First problem solved tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We appreciate the audience here tonight. My name is Greg Davis, land planner with iPlan Consulting. We have our design team here tonight, as well as Alex Gayet, who represents the ownership. So between the three of us, we should be able to answer any questions that you might have about the overall project. Specifically, we just wanted to come up here for a few minutes and talk about the perimeter boundaries and walls, because that's obviously a concern of ours from a design standpoint. We try to design communities that are open and integrated and have good connectivity, especially when we're adjacent to other residential development. And as Phil identified, we have residential development on our east and our south. So we're hoping that our design ultimately is one big community where people can come and go back and forth, et cetera. So the more walls we put up, the worse in our mind as far as that neighborhood fabric and quality that we're trying to establish. So that's why we wanted to talk about this specific site. And you can see here, we kind of have 4 different conditions along each perimeter. To the north and west, we have public right-of-ways. Obviously, Skousen is an existing road today, carries a good amount of traffic, will continue to carry a lot of traffic. So we do understand the concern about some sort of perimeter boundary that helps keep people inside from running out, from balls flying out into the street, et cetera. What we're asking for is just some flexibility on what that is, because we would prefer not to make it look like a compound with a 1,000-foot-long block wall. We'd rather have some other type of fencing there, whether it be split rail fence, wrought iron fence, some other combination that gives us the flexibility to make it look more open and inviting and less, less like a compound. And so that specifically along Skousen makes sense to us. Gibson Road to the north isn't built yet. We don't know if and when it's going to be built. We are providing the right-of-way so that it ultimately can be if and when the city sees a purpose for it. But until then, it's the same situation. We really don't see a need for that solid 6-foot wall, so we would prefer some flexibility in what kind of demarcation we can have. And where it really turns different, though, is along our east and south boundary. So along the east side, we already have a 20-foot open space tract along our entire east boundary. And we've moved our buildings away from that edge because we expect to have single-family homes in the future. So having a 3-story building, overlooking someone's backyard can be a little intrusive. Even though they're not there today, we wanted to make sure we planned for it. And so we're trying to create this open area that can be enjoyed by both groups, because we expect that the residential will also have a 20-foot landscape area on their side. So we have 40 feet of landscaping that we think is much better served as a paseo or trail or something versus being split down the middle by a wall, which basically makes it on both sides. So again, we're not looking necessarily to avoid the requirement. We're just looking at another solution that makes more sense. We don't think a wall makes sense along that side, but if we were allowed to do, again, something smaller, a lower wall, a split rail fence, something that helps identify our property from their property, but still allows people to come back and forth, we think that's a better solution for the community. So then along the south side, as staff just mentioned, we actually have a gas line easement. So we can't even put a wall there. We're precluded from building a wall within that easement, which is 100 feet wide. So if we were to put a wall anywhere, see if I can get this pointer to work, it would have to be immediately adjacent to these buildings, which would then put a 6-foot barrier right outside of those people's windows that they'd look out. So instead of looking out into a 100-foot wide landscape area, they'd be looking at a 6-foot wall. And again, what are we trying to accomplish with the wall at this location? We're just keeping residents from being able to use that area for trails or for walking or for running their dog, and limiting the ability for people in the neighborhood to the south to come up to the north, et cetera. So we think, again, this is a situation where really no wall makes sense along the south side. So we hope that you can consider all of these situations and give us some leniency as we go forward in the design process. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions specific to this or anything else in the project as our team. So thank you.
I could see the idea of not having the wall after you build a single family. But just looking at your property, have you ever walked out in there?
I have, sir, yes.
Okay. There's a lot of snakes, a lot of bad stuff out there. A lot of coyotes and stuff. They seem to, run around in town for some reason. But I kind of felt maybe you guys would like to be a little more secure on the east and the south. I can see along the Skousen Road maybe having more of a decorative, kind of more of a welcoming type of wall there.
Yes, sir. We look at things in the long term. I understand in the short term, if this gets built and this residential is 5 years out, there is a chance that there could be some nature invading this project. But that is a very short term view. A wall wouldn't make a lot of sense in this case, and to have us put in a wall that's probably $300,000-$400,000 and then to rip it out 5 years, 10 years later, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to do. I think it would be better for us to find other ways to help protect the residents from being invaded by nature in those locations, other than just a 6-foot wall, which we know really doesn't block coyotes and other.
Yeah, they'll just come in the front, but
Yeah, and along the street frontage, we totally understand, it's more of a safety issue, because you do have dangerous situations out there with the cars and traffic that we're helping increase. So we just think a wrought iron fence or some other type of fence would be a better suited for there and make it look better for the entire community that has to drive by it.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I agree with the north and the west. Maybe looking at some type of alternative than the brick wall, wrought iron. Um, um, I know even though you have planned areas for activities in the middle, um, um, children don't tend to follow plans a lot. And the trucks for the gin across the street, they do travel up and down that road a lot. So I would feel much more comfortable with something, wrought iron, whatnot on the north and west. As far as the east and the south goes, um, um, I can foresee that once you have the single housing development going in, they're all going to have their brick walls around their yards. And then to add another one, you're gonna have, some Shawshank looking stuff going on there. So, some other possibility, I mean, as we all know, there's only so much you can do. So, you know, um, and I understand your concern about expense with having something there temporary. The question I have is, you said 5 years for the single family area, but this goes all the way back to 2005, right?
Yeah.
So, best plans and all, so you don't really know for sure how long it's gonna be, have anything behind it, with
Correct.
the single family homes. And so I'm wondering, you know, I do know it's expensive, for wrought iron. You're gonna be looking probably, in the realm of, even with a small, 5 foot, you're probably looking at $1.5 to $2 million for that area of land there. But in the overall scheme of things, it'd be easier to take out something wrought iron, and I don't think put up chain link. That might change the whole aesthetics of the place, but, maybe, I don't know, something temporary. The wrought iron on the back isn't gonna keep the critters out either, they're just, so I don't know if maybe landscaping barriers on the east and the south would be better. I personally am more than I am about.
Sure, and I appreciate those comments. We definitely see the concern along Scows and maybe Gibson. Maybe staff can speak to what the plans are for Gibson as far as timing for that. But we appreciate the open dialogue on how to handle that on the east and the south, because that's a lot of money that we just have to pass on to the residents that don't deserve it. So if we could come up with a temporary fencing, even if it is some sort of enhanced chain link or something to that effect, if there is some flexibility in the city's ability to do that, I think that would be welcomed.
Do we have any other comments about the fence? Go ahead.
Do you guys have any other developments in the city that would be able to give us an example how it would look, or is this going to be like your first implementation of a plan like this?
Commissioner, that this is the first time this developer is building in the community. I represent multifamily projects all over. In some communities, they prohibit walls, so it's really specific to that site. some of the dangers, the concerns of that community, and what they want to see there. So we look at things more long-term, at least I do, and long-term, we really, don't want to have walls. We want to minimize them wherever possible, because we think they're a barrier to community building. But we do understand the physical concern of, cars and potentially, nature. So we're just trying to find ways to solve those problems without just saying, nope, brick walls, block wall.
Thank you.
You bet.
So I've got a question for you for the east side. So you're thinking that the single family is going to use your guys' open trail that's back here, right?
Commissioner, so we have a 20-foot trail, or 20-foot open space. They'll have a 20-foot open space as well. So we have a 40-foot area there that we would like to, be better used as a pedestrian paseo than just dead areas. So yes, we would expect that the single-family area would have a buffer on their side, and then you'd have their private yards, which would be walled off. So that if there is a trail built long-term, it would run through, the middle of it would be on the property line.
Okay. So you just don't want to put a block wall or anything right there to prohibit them from walking into your area.
Correct. We're trying to keep it open.
You just want them to flow like directly into your area.
Yeah, ideally, that area is better served being open, visual for all the residents.
I mean, I kind of don't like the idea of there not being a block wall, or in general, just a wall there. I can understand maybe combining two different types. Maybe the bottom part is block and then you do a partial rot. The reason I'm saying that is just for pest control or something like that, just trying to keep the wildlife away potentially, or keep kids away from the wildlife, or trying to mess with that type of wildlife. Yes, we understand that like wildlife is going to do what wildlife wants to do, but I can understand not having the 6-foot block wall, but just leaving that open right there just for potential like pest control, for coyotes, for snakes and stuff like that. I'd like to see something there that combines the two, so it gives you that open feel, but still has a protective barrier to it. So that way, with a wrought iron, snakes can slither through there. Coyotes, I've seen them go through wrought iron because they're just so skinny. Stuff like that. If you can combine the two elements, that would be the best thing for that on the east side. But yeah, I'm not opposed to, on the north and the west, putting like something with wrought iron, or maybe even if you can do the combination of the two elements along that so it keeps it low. I mean, I think that would be better served. But I mean, that's all I have there.
Excuse me, Commissioner, your thoughts on the south side? That one's just more problematic because of the gas line easement.
Yeah, I can understand with why that can't have a wall there. It's a gas line.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mess with gas. Nobody's gonna mess with gas. But as far as like the east, west, and north, if you can do the combined elements there, kind of what it would look like, what would the cost be, and stuff like that, I don't think that would be
Okay. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, if the owner's representative speaks for just a minute?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thanks for hearing our case today. I'm Alex Guyette. I represent the ownership group. I hear loud and clear the concerns on having a perimeter, some sort of protection, and frankly, I agree with them. I would ask that we kind of, agree that this is something we're going to need to do, but I think the scale of our project and the linear feet of that, what we're talking about, is something I think we should be able to work through in the design process and come up with a cost-effective, aesthetic solution that also, helps protect the residents. And I don't think we're prepared today to specify what that is. Echoing Greg, I just, the thought of a brick CMU wall enclosing that amount of acreage is just really not appealing. But I understand the concern. So if we were allowed to work with our landscape architect and our project architect to find the optimal solution, that would be appreciated.
Was what was on the initial site plan that they turned in? Did it have a wall around it, or we didn't get a copy of that?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. We've actually been talking with them for about 18 months and met many, many times. And it was proposed fairly early on that it might not have a wall, although we had noted to them then that it would be our preference, but an applicant can bring forward such request as is called out in the code to get relief or do some other design standards that would fit the bill or maybe exceed the change that said applicant might be asking for.
Mr. Scott, may I make a comment there? I think what we really are trying to emphasize here is we're looking at a landscape, look at the amount of trees and other landscape elements around the perimeter. At least visually, it's going to truly look enclosed. Will it keep out wildlife? No. But we do have a perimeter delineation shown by the conceptual landscape plan that we have.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe the question here is, would the commissioner and the committee here be willing to entertain other options other than a 6-foot brick wall? And clearly, we will. But again, like you said, you would have to go back and do some, design and some architect, and then I don't know if that would come back to this committee or not. That's what we're asking today, right? We be willing to entertain some other alternative other than a big 6-foot brick wall?
Vice Chair Scott, Commissioner Mayers, you could, if you wanted to, you could establish what you prefer. And, I mean, you could make them come back, but if you wanted to approve it, you could say, we approve a stipulation that there's a combination of things that, we want wrought iron, 6 foot, whatever, or is Commissioner Montoya suggested the bottom with block with the top wrought iron, that type of thing. So you could do that and approve it if you'd like. And then we have a few other stipulations that we'd like to bring up. But this one was a big one because they asked for relief on it. And the zoning code requires a wall on any dissimilar uses. That's how it is in the zoning code. So when you have multifamily against single family, then the code says who puts it in first is up to the commission. If one's going in and the other one's coming in later, but in this case we have open desert, so it's not like a piece of vacant land that's going to be developed right away. That has fencing or something like that. It's a little different, but you have that option, or you could say, well, we want to see the product, so we're gonna
See the different
right.
options that are
Yeah,
available.
if they don't have something to present, that you can.
So Gilbert, it's an option to table it? Could we table
Yeah.
it in this essence?
Yeah, you could if you want to, right? Yeah, for that, to give them time to get more information and to look at options, and then.
I mean, because I don't think we would be able to ascertain today, okay, we want 2 feet of brick and 4 feet of wrought iron, or 3 feet, I mean, I don't think we could make that.
Yeah, real members of the commission, the only caveat to the tabling is you are limited to tabling consecutive meetings. So if we table this and come back and we don't like the ideas and you want to table again, after that, we have to have a vote on it.
But at least if we came back a month from now, we would have ideas instead of just a general statement like we received tonight for the first time.
So My guess, my question for you guys is, would you guys be able to present options if we were to table this in a month?
Yeah, no, we should. Our landscape designer's not here, but I,
That would be my suggestion.
It might also be helpful if the commission, I know there's been a couple ideas said, but if there's any other ideas you'd like to see, it might help speed this along for their design team as well.
One, Mr. Chairman, one thing that works really well, especially if you're working around bushes, is black chain link. It's cost effective and it just disappears into the whatever it's standing next to. You don't even hardly see it.
Good idea.
But,
No.
I mean, that's just an option. I'm just throwing that out
Sure.
there for you guys, because I've seen that work. I've had it in locations where I've lived, and it works really well. So, and it's more cost effective than block.
right. I'm confident we can find a cost-effective solution with landscaping, like you mentioned.
And make a motion, or you can't.
Ms. Chair, I wanted to just run some other stipulations that we'd like to see, and especially if you're going to table this, they can consider it if they. And we'll add it to an updated staff report on these, but I can verbalize them to you if you'd like,
Okay.
if you're open to that. Okay, one thing we talked about the fencing, we're talking about that right now. We know it's in the staff report about the improvements to Skousen that's required because of the entrances and the turn lanes and all that. That's a half-street improvement. We would like to ask, I don't know if how the applicant feels, that the landowner improve Gibson with 2 lanes gutter and on the north side. I know there's not an entrance there. There could be. There's one entrance now, but we'd like to see that improved also because eventually that street's going to go in and we're going to use it. We're going to tie it, and we're going to pay for the rest of it. We're going to tie it to Industrial Drive. It's going to be extended. The city's pays for that. But if we can get anything that's along the property, usually we require it to be improved. So any streets that are on there, for sure Skousen, but the other one, we'd like to see Gibson also if possible. We do have in the staff report too that the electrical poles need to be undergrounded by 82. Because we're going to be doing that on the park to the north. We're going to have to do that, and then we're also going to underground all along Coolidge Avenue with electrical district number 2 for aesthetics, and also I think they would probably like that too. Let's see the easement along with the gas line. Our building official wanted to mention that the gas company has their own process that you have to go through when you build next to those things. So it's important that you contact them as soon as possible because they do have, and it sounds like you already have worked with them, but they do have a process that you have to go through to get approval to build close to that. And like I said, you mentioned that they won't let you build walls within a certain footage, but you may want to double check that because if you can't put a wall, what about the wrought iron and for security, or they may reduce it down because from what I understand, the status of the pipe changes when you go through a process of building something next to it. Because there are other areas in the city where that same gas line easement runs right through and their houses are, so obviously it's doable. It just has to be approved through it's Kinder Morgan, I believe. They used to have El Paso Natural Gas, but I think it's Kinder Morgan that owns that pipe. And the one thing, and we want to make sure, and I think it's on the plans, or what we saw some conceptual, that the roof be tile. And I think you have some parapet walls in there in the units, so we want to make sure the equipment is screened, that it's just required to be screened. We do, and if you have equipment mounted on the roof, that it doesn't stick out, that it's screened so it looks nice. And that we have no window AC units. I don't know if we haven't seen enough of product. And also the landscape requirements, they're proposing to reduce the number of trees and add more ground cover. And because of the density, so that's why they have this exhibit that shows trees throughout, mature trees. So typically, and Phil, I think you can tell us what would normally be required.
Well, for whatever they'd propose or what's required, the code calls out the trees would be 24-inch box, so they'd be sizable trees to start with. But what is required for this size of a project is the zoning standards 567 trees and 1,153 shrubs, whereas they're proposing 359 trees, about 200 less, about maybe 60 less on the shrubs at 1,074. But in turn, they were proposing an additional 672 accents and 507 plants of ground cover, which would be 1,200 in excess of that category, but once again, less than 200 on the tree count, so.
So if we're going to do that, and I would rather have shrubs instead of ground cover and the accents, because the shrubs will enhance the area, lantana and those type of things, versus just ground cover. There's a difference in size too. The shrubs are 5-gallon size, and the ground cover can be smaller because it's ground cover. So you can allow that if you'd like, because of the amount of islands that are there. If it's going to be too much and crowd it out, then you have to thin it out in the future. I used to have that issue in the city of Chandler when I was the landscape inspector. Chandler wanted a lot of landscaping. You can go through Chandler, it's beautiful, but there's a lot there. And there was no exceptions. We required it, but, we want to work with them but if you want to approve that, we certainly open. We'd probably want a few more shrubs instead of, if we're gonna go that many trees less, then I would say ground cover is not, in my opinion, appropriate exchange. I'd want probably more shrubs and of a 5-gallon variety. So,
Is there a difference in the amount of water usage that would be required between shrub and ground cover? Does one need more than?
I'm trying to think of, we can look that up. It depends on the type, because the thing with, the Arizona Landscape Contractors Association has a lot of requirements on what's allowed, and we use the Arizona Nurserymen's Association list, and even the list in our zoning code, we have the list there of plants that are allowed, and because we want to see drought-tolerant material, there's a lot of variety. It could be bioporium on ground cover, it could be other things that are smaller, and then and depending on if you have drip emitters or you have those sprayers, it just depends. And when you're out in these areas, it'll be inside an area that probably will have some sort of. If you notice bring up the solar facilities, we have irrigation around those, and the prairie dogs are eating the lines. They're chewing right through them, and so you have to put in probably more of a better type of irrigation system with PVC instead of the real soft, vinyl poly lines, because they just chew through those suckers and you get leaks. But anyway, that's kind of a maintenance thing. So
Yeah, and ground cover, when it rains a lot, there's a lot of weeds in there.
yeah, it's hard to keep it
Somebody
clean.
doesn't keep
So,
up on their game, then
yeah.
doesn't look good.
Gilbert, I do have a comment on the trees. I think that was inadvertent. If we're not meeting the ratio, that wasn't intentional.
Okay.
We can fix that on the plans.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think you would
we want trees.
Yeah, because it provides shade and you get places to
Yeah.
rest. We as a city we're a designated tree city, so we plant so many trees a year extra in the parks, and then put a plaque on it, all that. So that would be really good.
Yep.
As far as we do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. That would help.
Yeah, I'd like to see the trees and the shrubs be consistent with the current zoning standards. Any other commissioners' thoughts? Bill? Okay?
So, Mr. Vice Chair, I guess you can, if you want, we stated the recommendations on the stipulations. We will add them to a revised staff report that we'll get you before next meeting. And then we can work with the applicant to see if they're ready for the next meeting. If you table it to the next available meeting, how do we do that? Table it to the next?
If the motion is to table, I would just recommend to table it to the next scheduled meeting, which I believe is,
August 7th.
there you go.
And so if something happened and you're not ready, you can let us know, and then we'll retable, we'll ask you to table it again, right?
Or we can just pull it.
Or we can pull it from the agenda. If for some reason, you got to consider some more things or costs or whatever, that's if that we can work with that. Okay? We'll have other things beside next things on the agenda, right, Phil? We'll have other things on the agenda next meeting.
Yes, we will have a preliminary plat for Toltec Estates.
So that'll be coming. That's out by going towards the college on McCartney. So.
Okay, are there any other comments before we open it up for, is there anybody here from the public that would like to,
Within 300 feet.
what's that?
It's within 300 feet
Within 300
Yeah.
feet?
of the property.
Is there any property owners within 300 feet of this proposed project that would like to come up to the mic and share your thoughts with us? No? Okay, close the public hearing.
Ready for the
We're
motion?
ready for a motion.
I move that we table. You get the right number. School fees 240315 to the next scheduled meeting, where changes will be made.
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Be tabled till the next meeting. All right. Do you have any reports from our director there?
Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, just been really busy with a lot of different, I'll just pick a few things out of here. We're moving forward with, there's a Wendy's restaurant that's being reviewed on the northwest corner of Vakayan and Highway 87. So I'm hoping that that goes through. That was the original site of the Burger King. And then the franchises got into a little bit of a competition, and it was moved up to by Safeway by a different franchisee that was working with the company. And so we were glad to see something going there that I think the public will. And we were able to use the site plan you approved last time because the building fits right on it. So we were able to do that. And it says if it fits here and it's the same type of building, it's already been approved, And so we were able to expedite that process because we had that already done that you had approved before. So that helped. And so I'm hoping this Wendy's gets built so it takes the stigma off of Burger King not coming yet, because that's like the Holy Grail, and it really, everybody gives me a hard time over the Burger King not being here, so we're hoping it does get here. So we'll look forward to that. Just working, and we finally got the chicken, the pollo, what was it called? The pollo place?
Lucas or something?
Pollo Lucas, yeah, from Rocky Point, that you finally got open. We're looking forward to that, and I've heard it's pretty good. So I've gotten chicken there, but my wife's picked it up. I haven't gone in the restaurant itself. It was good. It's like kind of like, I shouldn't say it's like Pollo Loco, but it's a grilled chicken, just kind of the same style, but better maybe. And so that's really good. And let's see what else we have. We have other things going on. We're what else, Phil? What do we have? Note offhand.
Well, what is it? We might have a final plat or like a follow-up to Coolidge Gateway
Yeah.
behind Safeway there. And then Picacho Crossing, if you want to.
No, the Coolidge Gateway, it was in play before. The streets are almost in, and we have a developer that wants to come in and complete those, finish them up, and then we're looking at some potential elevations to go there, and so that's one of our last developments that hasn't been. They used to call them, I hate the term, but they used to call them zombie lots, because they're just left and stopped. But what they'll do is they'll camera all the sewer lines, they'll check everything, they'll work with Arizona Water to bleach out the lines and sanitize them, and then finish out whatever, put new manholes in, because the manholes are stolen, I think they're gone, and so put new manholes in, and then also finish the street on the south side that wasn't put in. So then they'll landscape it all, put the walls in, and we'll see some houses. So they're in that process right now of bringing that forward through the review, because it's already has the entitlements. It's already been approved. It's a PAD originally. So now we have a home builder that's really interested in doing that, going through. So we're happy to see that come back up. And if those of you that don't know, we had a Marriott approved towards the front by the canal, but they're still working through some things. They've said they're still coming. They just not right now. But they may have to come back to you because the site plan is going to expire. So if they don't do it soon, we're going to make them come back to the process. So those are what are the we
Want
had.
to tell them about the Arizona Water, working with Hawk Hollow and Brighton Village and stuff?
Yeah, we are working through some. Well, first of all, Picacho Crossing. We're working with Picacho down there by the north of Martin Road and side of the rail tracks to actually expand that and develop the remaining portion of it. So we're looking through that part. So there'll be it got to where they just moved some earth, probably at risk, but they never filed they don't have a preliminary plat, right? So they have to file a preliminary
gotta
plat.
file
It'll have to come through you to look at, but everything's kind of laid out. We have the designs and everything, and they got to the point of where we thought they even had sewer lines in, but we went out and looked, they're not there. They show up on our GIS system. So we're that far along, and all of a sudden everything stopped, at that time. So we have quite a bit of, and then Arizona Water is working with Hawk Hollow and Landmark 2, 3, and 4, Landmark 9 and 10, and Brighton Village, which is on. Is it Kenworthy and
Yes,
Martin.
yes.
It's to the left of Kenworthy before you get to Martin.
It's
And
600
then-
feet south.
Yeah, and then you go south, and then of course Hawk Hollow's on the right if you're going south, and then Landmark 9 and 10 to the left, and behind that is Brighton Village as you're going south. So all those they're working together to come up with a water solution through Arizona Water for like a campus or something. So that they're working through that. It's pretty exciting because there's a lot of things already approved there, so they have to get that done so they can start developing lots. We don't want to run out of lots, when things because it's starting to pick back up. And I think when the interest rates drop down again, hopefully the feds will lower the rate. Talking about it a little bit on the Business Journal, and I think you'll see a pickup in houses. Some of these developers home builders have bought down interest rates so they can offer it to the home buyers, but that won't last forever, so interest rates dropping is a good thing. It'll help stimulate the home building for all of us, so.
On a guess, how many homes between all those projects? Just rough
Roughly
guess.
estimated, it's about 5,000 lots, maybe about 3,200 of them have assured water supply.
Yes, like Hawk Hollow is not it's a rental property. It's been
Right.
approved. Those are manufactured, high-end manufactured product that.
Isn't it kind of dangerous to skirt the 100 years, certificate? I mean, it's there for a purpose. I know
Yeah,
that's
no,
a
it-
loophole.
Yeah.
But, all the rest of the people that, built their projects under that 100 years certificate.
Yeah, the difference is that the individual parcels can't be sold. It's
I
really
understand all that. I'm talking about the water in the ground.
yeah, because it's treated like an apartment complex.
No, I know that part,
Yeah.
but they still use water, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I'm saying, just the availability of water, I guess, is.
Right, and I know there's a lot of activity on the water issue, and so But, yeah, so we probably want to save that for another
Yeah,
discussion because we're kind of going outside just updates.
on the
We don't want to get in trouble with our attorney.
No,
here.
I'm
The
not
open
trying
meeting
to-
law.
Well, I'll give you some good
Yeah, I'm not
information to
trying
this stuff
to
too.
do that. I'm just curious.
Oh,
No, we have to stop.
oh, no, I was going to say Hawk Hollow had already been approved for their PAD. So they had actually submitted to us their first potential major site plan is the process they got to go through. But while they've been working out this water issue, then they'll come in with their second submittal to us, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be bringing that before too. And a little bit earlier this year, you approved the preliminary plat for Brighton Village, which was about 940 units. So hopefully sometime within a couple of months, we're going to be seeing their final plat as well too, which would go before the city council. So lots of activity still.
Is there any movement on Procter and Gamble out there? I've been by there a few times. It looks the same.
Yeah, I think yeah, you got to be careful with that one. I think we're hoping, staff level, that we'll see some activity this fall.
Okay.
So that's about as much as I can share at this point.
Have you heard anything about that, a proposed recreational place there? Just this, on Coolidge and Skousen where they have the bow and
Yes.
Yeah,
stuff
facility.
going on. Has there been any movement on that?
Is it coming before here?
Yeah,
The bow and arrow shooting facility, is that what you're talking about?
Wasn't it like a recreational?
Yeah, they're supposed to put a park there,
Yeah.
ball fields.
I
think there
can
was
get
a-
some information, send it to you. It's
Oh, I was
we're
just curious.
working on it as a city.
Yeah,
developing
because
it,
we
yeah.
have more and more, we're approving more and more of these developments for people, and we need to have
If you want, that
the
I think at the last
amenities.
at the last meeting, Ricky Lapaya, the Parks and Rec director, gave an update to the council on that subject. So you can go see the recording.
Okay. I'll
Where
look
where
at-
he provided some information on that. That way you can see the latest greatest he provided. I think it was the last meeting before
Okay.
I can email it to you. So
Okay,
the link.
wonderful.
Okay,
All right.
that's all I have this year. Oh, yes, sir.
Read on the internet today that Kroger is selling over 100 Safeway and Albertson stores across Arizona. Coolidge is not one of them.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a fries and food.
Yeah, I did.
Just thought I'd throw that one in.
I saw the same article. So luckily, Coolidge's name is on the list. So
Yeah, the Safeway at Anthem is going.
oh really? Okay.
They're selling it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Get myself in trouble.
Let's see, call to the public. Do we have any members of the public that would like to share anything? Okay,
Oh, just one
and-
thing, Mr. Chair, if I could add real quick, I apologize, and maybe if I won't get in trouble. All these bags for the students are for the kids, and Saturday, the police is going to be giving out backpacks to. So that's more of a public information thing.
yeah, that's an
Pardon my
amazing
update.
sight.
Yeah, so we had to pull them down so we can have our meeting, put them back up, because this was full. And so this Saturday, they're going to be giving out along, the kids get to pick the crayons and all that. It's a great event that PD does, and they get all the stuff donated, so it's really great. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
Okay,
So if you do not do anything Saturday, come down and help. I guarantee you, they're gonna need help.
Yep.
all right, good. If there's nothing else that we need to discuss, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move we adjourn.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate